Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our continuing coverage of the 2020 New York primary elections. I'm Natalie Kate alongside Eli Finkelson.
Polls closed at 9 p.m. tonight, but many voters have cast their ballots before today. Governor Andrew Cuomo signed an executive order requiring county boards of elections to mail absentee ballot applications to all eligible voters.
Early voting began on June 13th and continued until Sunday. A limited number of polling places were open today on Long Island. Social distancing protocols had to be followed, and voters were required to wear masks. In part because of high volume of mail-in ballots, we do not have any results to report, even though the polls have closed. Let's take a quick look at some of the key congressional races on Long Island that we've been following.
In District 2, which includes southeastern Nassau County and southern Suffolk, Republican Representative Peter King is not running for re-election after 28 years in Washington. He has endorsed New York State Assemblyman Andrew Garbarino in today's primary. Garbarino faced another state assembly member, Mike LePetri.
Democrats are trying to reclaim the District 2 seat, with King retiring. Jackie Gordon, who has served in the U.S. Armed Forces for nearly 30 years and is a member of the Babylon Town Council, is running for the Democratic nomination. Her opponent, Patricia Mayer, has portrayed herself as a political outsider. Both Gordon and Mayer are prioritizing making healthcare more affordable.
In District 3, which includes northern Nassau and northwestern Suffolk, incumbent Representative Tom Suozzi faced multiple challengers in today's primaries. Grassroots activist Melanie DeRigo is running on a more progressive platform, supporting Medicare for All, the Green New Deal, and advocating for unions. Along with DeRigo, Suozzi is also running against former sex crimes prosecutor and firefighter Michael Weinstock, who is calling for police reform, gun safety, and improving access to mental health services. Suozzi is seeking his third term in Congress and says he wants to try to secure more federal funding for New York businesses affected by the economic shutdown spurred by the coronavirus pandemic. The winner of tonight's Democratic primary will oppose Republican George DeVolder Santos in November. DeVolder Santos is the only Republican candidate on the ballot in District 3.
In District 4, which makes up much of southern Nassau County, including Hempstead, current Congresswoman Kathleen Rice is running unopposed on the Democratic side. Registered Republicans had a choice between Town of Hempstead Engineering Commissioner Doug Tooman and Jewish activist and columnist Sidney Gross. Gross says she wants to be an ally for Donald Trump and wants to focus on making changes to education. Tooman says he wants to work on bringing down the cost of living on Long Island.
Out in Suffolk County, incumbent Congressman Lee Zeldin is running unopposed in the District 1 Republican primary. 4 Democrats were on the ballot today for a chance to run against Zeldin in November. Perry Gershon, a businessman who worked on political campaigns in the 1980s, has spoken out against President Trump and wants to address the opioid crisis and gun violence. Bridget Fleming, who is currently a Suffolk County legislator in Albany, wants to improve infrastructure and address environmental concerns. Nancy Goroff is a chemistry professor at Stony Brook University. She's a supporter of immigrants and member of the LGBTQI+ community and is calling for criminal justice reform. Candidate Greg Fisher is a consultant and worked as a volunteer responder on 9/11. He's calling for campaign finance reform and is opposed to Common Core.
We are also following primaries in other states. Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell and President Donald Trump reportedly won the Republican primary in Kentucky.
On the Democratic side, Joe Biden is projected to win the presidential primary. In the race for Congress, former Marine Amy McGrath is facing State Representative Charles Booker for a chance to face McConnell in November. McGrath was the frontrunner for much of the campaign, but Booker, who is African American, has gained more momentum in recent weeks amidst ongoing civil rights protests against police brutality and racial inequality. McGrath is currently leading Booker in the primary by about 6,000 votes. McGrath has 45.5% of the vote, and Booker has about 35.2%.
And that'll do it for tonight's coverage of the 2020 New York primaries on 88.7 FM Radio Hofstra University. Tune in tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. for a full recap of tonight's primary, plus an interview with a Hofstra expert as we look ahead at the general election in November.
Reporting for WRHU, I'm Eli Finkelson.
And I'm Natalie Kate.
Thanks for listening.
And have a great night.